What's up, everybody? Welcome to the channel. OG here, and we are going to talk about the goalkeeper selection for the new directing defense promo. One of 4 goalkeepers. Who are you going to select? It may seem difficult, but it's pretty easy. Not to mention there are 2 other goalkeepers that we can make a comparison to. So we will talk about all of that right now. But first, let's talk about what this directing defense means. It's pretty cool, actually, because it doesn't necessarily boost your keeper. It boosts the defenders that are actually going to be in front of the keeper, deep in their own territory. Here's the exact definition. Directing defense is a goalkeeper skill that improves the defensive abilities of your defensive players positioned deep in your own territory. So, pretty much exactly what I said, but I just wanted to allow you to read it from the game in case you didn't believe me. Now, before diving into the 4 keepers you can select one from, I want you to take a look at 2 other keepers that are available. First is this Allison card. He is part of a different promo. It's like $1 selection, and as you can see, pretty similar in the stat department and the skill set department. You just don't have any boosters when you get Allison. Then there's Schmeichel, who is widely regarded as one of the best keepers in the game. He is a pay-to-win keeper in a selection box with Yaya Toure and Lee Dixon. As you can see, he has double boosters, just like the Showtime keepers, and just a little bit higher stats, but similar skill sets too. So ultimately, besides the amount of money you put in to get them, the only difference between Allison and Schmeichel is the boosters, which are meant to boost attributes. One comes with Schmeichel, and then you can add one yourself, just like all the other Epic players. So, for argument's sake, you were looking at 3 to, let's say, 6 attribute points in favor of Schmeichel being the difference between him and Allison. Now, with that in mind, as well as the starting attribute points for both Schmeichel and Allison, let's take a look at all 4 selection goalkeepers. So first up, Jordan Pigford, the offensive goalkeeper, coming in at 185 centimeters. Remember that, because for goalkeepers, height matters. Goalkeeper attribute-wise, he's coming in at 80, 75, 76, 79, 76 respectively. He also has 76 kicking power, 67 jumping, 64 physical contact. Passing, since he's an offensive goalkeeper, is 55 and 57 for low and lofted pass respectively. So, he's a bit lower than Schmeichel. They both are double boosted, so they both will have attribute boosts. You would assume that some of those, if not all of them, will go to the goalkeeper's stats. So, even though he starts off lower than Allison, right, after the boosters, he would be just above Allison and just below Schmeichel. And then you have the skill set. He comes with goalkeeper low punt, long throws, penalty saver, directing defense. Obviously, all 4 have that, and fighting spirit, which is actually excellent for a goalkeeper, and he is the only of the 4 that has it right off the bat. You can obviously add up to 5 skills, so if you want some of these skills that goalkeepers don't have, clearly you can add them, but that takes time. So it's nice when the goalkeepers come with these skills, obviously. Next, we have Lavkovich, who comes in at 187 centimeters. He is a defensive goalkeeper. And attribute-wise, he comes in at 75, 73, 78, 76, 79, respectively. Obviously, we are talking about goalkeeper awareness, catching, deflecting, reflexes, and reach. But then, Lavkovich also excels with 77 kicking power, 70 jumping, and 70 physical contact. Not the best. Passing, low and lofted, respectively, are 55 and 56. Not terribly lower than Pickford, though, as an offensive keeper, but not as good as his other stats, clearly. So, as far as the boosters go, just so you know why I'm not going into those, you can add up whatever booster you plan on getting, as well as the one each keeper has. It's literally +2 in 4 different attribute areas, as well as +1 in either 4 totally different attribute areas in the first booster, or you could get the exact same. You could double up. For instance, for Lavkovich, it would be double saving. But at the end of the day, the attributes typically aren't far enough apart between any of these goalkeepers, including Allison and Schmeichel. That's why I wanted you to reference those, because the attribute difference isn't going to be the difference maker between your selections. It's just the bottom line. And the same goes for goalkeeper skill sets, which for Lavkovich, he has goalkeeper high punt, long throws, penalty saver, and of course, directing defense, as all four have directing defense. One thing that is different about Lavkovich in particular that you should pay attention to is he has unwavering form. The rest have standard form, which means there are times when they are going to be at C, maybe D, and Lavkovich will always be good to go, no different than an epic card, which, as you know, can prove to be very important. It's never fun going into a game and having a player in poor form that you then have to find a replacement for. Now moving on to our third choice, Diogo Costa, the Portuguese goalkeeper, standing at 186 centimeters. Stat-wise, you're looking at 77, 73, 74, 80, and 75. To start with, that's before the boosters. You see here the saving boost. Skill set-wise, he has goalkeeper, low punt, high punt, penalty saver, directing defense, and captaincy. Now, he is an offensive goalkeeper just like Pigford. Looking at the stats, you will notice for both low pass and lofted pass, Diogo Costa is significantly higher than the other keepers, coming in at 64 and 68 respectively for low and lofted passes. Now, when I said there isn't a big enough difference between the goalkeeper attributes to affect who you select, I meant that, including the kicking power, jumping, and physical contact, which for Diogo Costa is 75, 69, 67, so not like Lavkovich level, but still pretty good. Not significant enough to make a difference. However, that low and lofted passing being as high as it is very interesting, especially for an offensive goalkeeper, because not only will Diogo Costa come out defensively, but he also can be a viable passing option, especially useful when you are under pressure and need an outlet, because when you pass to Diogo Costa, you won't just have to clear like you do many times with your other keepers. Diogo Costa will actually be able to connect some passes, so it is definitely worth keeping note of that low and lofted pass for Diogo Costa, as the other keepers simply don't have that good of passing. Now for our last choice, we are talking about the Indonesian international, the MLS goalkeeper Martin Pice, who is the tallest of the four goalkeepers, coming in at 191 centimeters. So the same as Allison, 2 centimeters shorter than Schmeichel, but again, the tallest of the four free goalkeeper selections. Now, attribute-wise, starting with goalkeeper awareness, he is coming in at 75, 78, 78, 77, 75. For kicking power, jumping, and physical contact, 68, 66, and 72 respectively. And then passing is in the mid-50s. So again, attributes not so far off that you would pick or not pick Pice based on that. Skill set wise, he is pretty barren with just goalkeeper, high punt, and of course directing defense. Then the booster that he comes with is goalkeeping. You can add whichever second one that you want to add. There is one thing to note about Martin Pice that could potentially be a negative, especially if you want to use him in events, and that is the fact that he doesn't have a club team. In real life, he plays in MLS, but that isn't listed here for events. The only thing you see there is the Asian qualifiers. So again, this is something only Martin Pice lacks. The other three have their club team listed. So in conclusion, you can use details such as no club team for Pice to eliminate him, or the unwavering form for Lavkovich to make him your choice. However, I would not look at the details with the attributes. As I said earlier, you can add any second booster you want. Then, when you look at the different boosters they come with, all of them get boosted in important goalkeeper areas. There's none better than the other as far as attributes go. Skill set wise, you could say I want a goalkeeper to have X, Y, and Z, but remember, you can add up to 5 skill sets. Maybe, though, you don't want to take as long as it may take to get the exact skill sets you want. So maybe you want to go with a keeper such as Pigford, who already has fighting spirit, which is very important on a keeper and one that none of the other goalkeepers have. Or maybe you want a goalkeeper that has low punt right off the bat. It really is up to you. The bottom line is this. With regards to shot stopping, like actually saving the ball, keeping it out of the net, none of these goalkeepers are going to be significantly better than the next. For instance, I had Peter Cech in goal for my pay-to-win team, and he is barely better than the Donnarumma I have right now from the standard list. The only difference I would say would come down to maybe 1 to 3 crazy animations that Cech had that Donnarumma doesn't. But then again, Donnarumma has had a few crazy animations too. So I don't even know if I could honestly say that because Czech had the attributes or because he had the player ID he did, he made those certain saves. Because Donnarumma has had a few crazy ones too. And then the rest of the time, every goalkeeper is going to save the same shots and give up the same shots. It's just the bottom line. It's been the same in all football games for years. Now, if you're a player that wants, for instance, to have a goalkeeper that's a great passing option, then you'll probably want an offensive goalkeeper, which means you only want to look at Diogo Costa or Pigford and eliminate Pice and Lavkovich. On the other hand, if you want a defensive keeper, then you'll want to eliminate those two and only look at Pice and Lavkovich. So if anything, make your decision on those type of details. Do not sit there and go over attributes or anything else trying to guess which goalkeeper is going to give up the fewest goals or make the most saves, right? For me, I'm down to either Diogo Costa or Lavkovich for the simple fact that I either want an offensive goalkeeper that is a good passing option, and in that case, Diogo Costa is a better option than Pickford, or I want a defensive goalkeeper, and in that case, Lavkovich is just simply a better choice than Pice. It's as simple as that. You shouldn't go crazy over this. Make it simple. Let me know who you pick in the comments, and as always, keep grinding, keep having fun. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.